Congratulations, you're Radahn, the Star Scourge. What's a Star Scourge, you ask? Well, imagine if a medieval war god and a literal asteroid had a baby. That's you. You're bigger than most houses, swing weapons that should legally count as small bridges, and, oh yeah, you personally told the stars to sit down and shut up. But before you became the cosmic bodybuilder of the lands between, you were just a kid. A really big kid. Born to Radahn of the Golden Order and Rennala, Queen of the Full Moon, you should have had a perfect childhood. Keyword, should have. Because, well, Dad left for milk and never came back. See, Radahn, in all his divine wisdom, took one look at your family and said, "Actually, I think I'll go be the consort of a literal god instead." And just like that, he pieced out to marry Queen Marika, leaving your mom in a downward spiral of magical depression. So, your childhood? A little rough. But nothing you couldn't handle, buddy, I think. While other kids were learning magic or royal etiquette, you were learning the first hard truth of life. Strength is the only thing that matters. If you weren't strong enough, people left. And so, you did what any emotionally neglected demigod would do. You bulked up like a final boss. From a young age, you trained your body like it was a religious experience. While your siblings were busy playing magic chess or learning politics, you were out in the fields swinging swords bigger than most horses. You weren't just training to be strong, you were training to be the strongest. Then came Leonard. Yes, the horse. See, there was one problem with your little obsession with strength. You got too damn big. No normal steed could carry you, so logically, you had two options. Number 1, get a bigger horse. Number 2, learn gravity magic so you wouldn't crush the tiny horse you already had. Naturally, you picked option 2. Enter the Alabaster Lords, ancient alien beings who literally fell out of the sky one day and decided, yeah, we live here now. These weren't your average wizards throwing fireballs and bathrobes. These guys could straight up ignore gravity, because why not? And so you learned from them, bending the laws of physics itself, not for war, not for knowledge, but for Leonard. Which means your first act of reality-defying power wasn't crushing enemies or moving mountains, it was horse-based ergonomics. And with that, you weren't just a big dude with a sword anymore, you were Radahn, the walking extinction event. So, you've got the muscles, you've got the gravity magic, you've got Leonard, the best boy. What's next? World domination, obviously. While other demigods were busy arguing over philosophy or finger-related cults, you had a simpler goal, become the strongest warrior in history. And spoiler alert, you did. You weren't just a warrior, you were a one-man natural disaster. When you weren't crushing enemies under sheer muscle mass, you were calling down meteors just because you could. Your battlefield strategy be so overwhelmingly powerful that strategy doesn't matter. While other generals were drawing up plans and discussing logistics, you were out there wiping out armies by yourself. And the best part, your men loved you for it. Unlike certain other demigods, Godric, you didn't rule through fear, you ruled through respect. But even with your ridiculous strength, you weren't satisfied. You needed something bigger. And then, one day, you looked up at the night sky and thought, what if I stopped those? So you did. Forever. Well, almost forever, but we'll get to that. You flexed so hard that the cosmic order of the universe froze in place. You didn't just conquer the battlefield, you conquered fate. Did this also make you the greatest warrior in history? Yes. Did it also put a giant cosmic target on your back? Absolutely. Because when Queen Marika shattered the Elden Ring, the world plunged into chaos. And if you think a bunch of power-hungry demigods were gonna let you keep a monopoly on the stars, you've got another thing coming. Welcome to the Shattering. Things are about to get messy. So, Marika shattered the Elden Ring, and naturally every demigod decided that meant it was go time. The Shattering wasn't just a war, it was a family feud on steroids. Your siblings, your half-siblings, your step-siblings, and probably a few people who were just really into grafting, all of them wanted a piece of the Elden Ring, and then there was you. You didn't care about politics, you weren't here to make alliances or declare yourself Elden Lord, you were here to fight, and fight you did. Then Malenia showed up. She wasn't here for power or a throne, she was here because Miquella sent her. And when you fought, the world broke. Two legends clashed and the world paid the price. The sky burned, the earth crumbled, armies stopped fighting just to watch. Until she cheated. Malenia unleashed her Scarlet Rot as a final world-be-damned effort to kill you. But it didn't kill you. It did something much worse. You lost. Not quickly, not cleanly. The Scarlet Rot unmade you. Your flesh decayed, your mind fractured, your hunger became unbearable, and yet you lived. Somehow, your body refused to die, your instincts took over, and you became a beast staggering through the wasteland that used to be your kingdom. But the one thing you didn't forget? Leonard. The world saw you as a mindless horror, so they gave you one final gift, a festival. Most people, when they lose their minds, get locked in a basement or politely escorted into obscurity. But since you're not like other gods, the people of Lands Between looked at you, a rampaging, disease-ridden demigod, and thought, what if we make this a party? And so they did. The Festival of Death wasn't just a battle, it was a spectacle. Trumpets, fireworks, poets writing odes, warriors traveling across the world for the privilege of being pulped by you. A grand, joyous event where everyone got together to see who could land the killing blow on Caelid's biggest mistake. And if you were going to die, it wasn't going to be because you tripped over Leonard and broke your neck, it was going to be in combat. Then the Tarnished arrive. You threw everything at them, swords, magic, your actual body, because if you were going down, you were taking someone with you, and when you fell, the stars moved again. Your story ended. Kind of. You'd think after a legendary warrior goes out in a blaze of glory, they'd get to rest, maybe kick back in the afterlife, reminisce about the good old days, or at least haunt some ruins in peace. But no, because the moment you finally got some peace, Miquella happened. Turns out, your death wasn't the end of your story. It was just another step in Miquella's 4D chess game because your bro-con half-brother just can't let things go. See, while everyone else was celebrating the fact that the stars were moving again, Miquella was busy cooking up his latest obsession, something about remaking the world in his perfect little image. And apparently step 1 of that plan was bringing you back. Why? Well, there are a few theories. Maybe he needs your power for the brainwashed nightmare utopia he's cooking up. Maybe he just refuses to accept losing. Or maybe, just maybe, he's been obsessed with making you his consort since day 1. Yup, even made a one-sided vow about it. Typical sibling gaslighting behavior, I guess. See, back in the day, Miquella looked at you and thought, yep, that's husband material. But when you refused to join his perfect little cult, he sent Malenia to convince you. We all know how that turned out. A lot of rot, destruction, and a one-way ticket to mindless cannibalism. But even after all that, Miquella still won't take the hint. So, while the world moved on, he was busy dragging your soul back into play. Because if he couldn't have you, then he'd just rebuild you now. If you want to know just how far this little Johann Liebert wannabe is willing to go for control, check out my other video on him. For now, all you need to know is that you've been revived, recycled, and repurposed into something far worse. Your body, a grotesque fusion of yourself and Mog's corpse, because nothing says love like stitching your crush into your dead half-brother. Do two halves make a whole in this case? Your new title, Miquella's Promised Consort, which is a bold claim considering you never agreed to it. But considering this is the same guy who brainwashed an entire blood cult into worshipping him, your consent was never really part of the equation. Now, instead of being Caelid's or fate itself's biggest problem, you're Miquella's personal Frankenstein experiment. And if history has taught you anything, it's that when outer gods and forced transformations are involved, things never end well. So now you're back, as whatever this is, some horrible fusion of yourself, Mog, and Miquella's questionable life choices. Maybe you fight to break free, maybe you fight because Miquella told you to, maybe you fight because at this point it's just muscle memory. But one thing's for sure, someone's getting their ass kicked. And when the Tarnished finally puts you down for the second time, you'd think that's it, that you finally get some peace. But let's be real, this is a From Software game, you're probably coming back in another DLC. Maybe next time they'll staple more body parts onto you. Maybe Miquella will finally upgrade you to Radahn 3.0, now comes with wings. Or maybe, just maybe, you'll actually get some rest. But probably not. Anyway, GG, well played, now go touch some grace.